David Zisser. I'm a staff attorney at Public Advocates. And I'm honored to present tonight's Voices of Conscience Award to none other than the East 12th Coalition. As Julia and BJ were singing Glory, and I heard about everyday women and men becoming legends, and that justice for all ain't specific enough, I couldn't help but think of the determined fight for housing justice that the East 12th Coalition has so courageously embraced. Many of you, through the press or social media, or some of us bragging, have probably heard about the pitched battle that has taken place over the last year over the development of a parcel of publicly owned land along the east shore of Lake Merritt in Oakland. It started out as a story about the seemingly unstoppable advance of luxury housing construction in Oakland. Profit-driven construction, in this case on public land, destined once again to displace longtime residents and forever change the face and character of Oakland. But soon that story changed through the East 12th Coalition's incredible community organizing, fierce determination, and deep faith in the power of people to speak for themselves. The coalition, which has its roots in the resident-led group Eastlake United for Justice, raised a loud and critical voice about keeping communities inclusive, multicultural, and open to people from all rungs of the economic ladder. They forged alliances with other grassroots organizers. They regularly turned out dozens of people to speak at public hearings. They shut down 2 city council meetings to ensure community voices were heard. And they held action after action that ultimately stopped the development of the luxury tower in its tracks. And in partnership with Public Advocates, among others, the coalition used the law to back up its call for public land for public good in a way that has resonated throughout the Bay Area and actually beyond. So tonight we honor the East 12th Coalition for their willingness to take on the hardest of fights, for their tenacity, and for their deep faith in community voices. Accepting the award for the East 12th Coalition is one of its members, Tia Hicks, who along with other coalition members has volunteered countless hours of organizing and hard work to advance justice.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tia Hicks. I'm a member of the East 12 Coalition, and these are all these folks standing behind me and many more community members. We are very honored to be recognized as a voice of conscience by Public Advocates. Speaking truth to power is not always easy or politically viable. And so we are grateful to know that despite the decisions that our elected officials make, we still have made an impact on the broader organizing around displacement, affordable housing, and gentrification in Oakland. So for me, like so many others who've been involved in this work, the work of our coalition is very personal. I was born and raised in Oakland, which is interestingly starting to become a political identity due to the increased amount of gentrification and displacement taking place. And the Eastlake neighborhood, which we actually called Funktown growing up. So Eastlake is a new term. But when I was there, we called it Funktown. That's where I have always lived, primarily with my mother and my brother. My family has deep roots in Oakland. My great-grandparents and grandparents traveled from the deep South the deep south of Arkansas, Georgia, and Louisiana during the 1940s, taking part in the Great Migration, which is the historical movement of 6 million Black families from the South to escape racial discrimination and look for economic opportunities in states to the north and northwest. I just want to contextualize like the history of how people like me got to Oakland and why this fight for gentrification is very significant. My family landed in West Oakland, and this is where my mother was born and raised until her father, a Navy man, was able to purchase a home in North Oakland. My parents divorced when I was 5 years old, so when my mom was raising me and my brother by herself, Eastlake was a place that allowed her and us to have housing and economic stability. Something that I now understand is what made it possible for me and my brother to flourish. I am a first-generation college graduate. You know, for instance, my grandmother did not graduate from high school. So this neighborhood, because of its affordability in rent, its proximity to transportation and grocery stores, really allowed us to have that stability. And that's huge when you can enjoy that kind of stability as a Black working class family in Oakland, because that's not possible for everyone. And even if you did not own a home, you could live in a place where you could afford and where you felt safe. And we were close to the lake. We could walk and exercise and do all the things that people who have resources could do. And so it was a neighborhood that I knew and that welcomed me. But a lot has changed, and it's still changing. That stability that my mom enjoyed is now out of reach for a lot of people, including my mother, who had to leave and move in with my grandmother. So she probably makes like $40,000 a year, and the fact that she left, she's not able to go back. And it's getting worse. So you can imagine how I and all these people behind me and a lot of other people in Eastlake felt when suddenly there was going to be this huge high-rise luxury tower built there that wasn't going to be for us, but for people who make at least $150,000 a year. That's a big gap between $40,000. And this development was more about profit than people, and to make it worse, it was going to be on public land. This is not a private lot. This is like, we, as taxpayers of Oakland, we paid for this. It's our land. The high-rise luxury tower in Eastlake was a sign of what was coming, and it inspired us, Eastlake residents and residents across Oakland, to fight. This fight has involved so many people and has employed many different strategies. David already outlined some of those for you, including some direct action tactics. And I stand in front of you tonight not to be the voice of our movement, but to tell you about the coalition and its diversity and solidarity with people across Oakland who want and deserve healthy and prosperous communities. This fight, to have a chance to win, needed a lot. It needed good ideas, people, commitment, nerve, courage, a lot of heart, and hey, we needed a good lawyer too. Or let's say we needed to combine our organizing power with a good legal strategy. We found that with public advocates and, yes. We found that with public advocates and the other law firms that have supported our work. We definitely could not accept this award without giving deep thanks to our wise and courageous legal team that has been with us since the beginning of this fight, David Zisser and Sam. Yes, David Zisser. As well as Sam Teppermint-Gelfont from Public Advocates. We also want to recognize Mike Rawson from Public Interest Law Project. And Dan Siegel from Siegel and Yee Law Firm. These gentlemen helped us and the city understand the ins and outs of the Surplus Land Act and other legal codes that apply to the development of the East 12th parcel, and shared invaluable tools, analysis, and insights that informed our campaign strategy. It was their work and their willingness to step up and use their expertise to challenge the city to do the right thing that multiplied by manyfold our campaign's leverage to move the city. Some would say that we backed the city into a corner. But we would like to think that we pushed the city towards a more righteous position. Unfortunately, they still haven't reached that righteous position yet, but we've pushed and pulled them a long way, and we could never have done this without the legal team. So again, thank you all for helping to catalyze our momentum and make more effective the work of the East 12 Coalition, and for the impact you continue to have on public lands policy throughout the region and state. I am so happy and proud to accept this award from Public Advocates on behalf of the East 12 Coalition. The fight for affordable housing on this public land is not over, but in a way, we've already won. There will be affordable housing on this site. We have the community mobilized and now directing the fight. We've contributed to a broader discussion about housing and gentrification in Oakland, and we have the law behind us. So thank you, and let's continue to demand that public land be used for public good. Thank you.
Public land for public good. Public land for public good. Public land for public good. Public land for public